And so one of the ways that we can do this act of evil surmising is when we just assume the worst about someone's words. Because look what it says in verse 3. It says, if any man teach otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Lord Jesus Christ, into the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words, whereof cometh envy, strife, railings, evil surmisings. So what does that mean? That word doting, it means regarding with excessive fondness. What we're going to do, we're just going to really pay very close attention to his words, and particularly certain words that they say, because we're sure they're evil. All right? I mean, I heard what they said, and I got the basic gist of what they're saying, but if you listen real close, I think there's something deeper here. Okay? And that's what we often do with people. We have that suspicious attitude, and what we do is we start emphasizing specific words. I think that's what happens with this doting. All right. So for example, of how we can do this, let's say I'm talking about Brother Daniel, and I say these words: he isn't going to church tomorrow. Okay, talking about Brother Daniel, and those are the words. Now picture all those words in your head. He isn't going to church tomorrow. Okay, that's a statement about Brother Daniel. But here's the thing: am I saying this as a question, or am I making an observation, or am I giving an imperative command? Because I could be saying, he isn't going to church tomorrow. Because of how I said it, that's a question, isn't it? Or I could say, he isn't going to church tomorrow. And that means I'm basically saying, I'm not going to let him. Or I could just be making a statement, he isn't going to church tomorrow. Just making a statement. Do you see how those same words I'm using in 3 different ways, just based on how I'm saying it? I can emphasize certain words. It's important you learn these tricks, folks, because you're going to hear this kind of thing where people do this type of thing. If I emphasize the word he, okay, I might mean he isn't going, but somebody else is. So if I'm like, well, he isn't going to church, same words. But I might be saying that meaning, well, he isn't going to church, but he is. See how it's different? Or if I emphasize the word going, I could mean he isn't going to church tomorrow. I mean, he's already there. You see how that works? If I emphasize church, he isn't going to church tomorrow. Because of the way I said that, it kind of implies he's going somewhere else, doesn't it? If I emphasize tomorrow, he isn't going to church tomorrow. Well, why am I doing that? Well, because he's here today, right? So do you see how just emphasis on a certain word changes everything? Now, I give this to you because when you hear people sometimes, when they are participating in evil surmisings, you know what they like to do? I'm saying their words verbatim. And sometimes, and they are, I use those words verbatim, same words every time. But based on emphasis of certain words, it kind of changes the meanings, and I can kind of do whatever I want with it. Just on that one short sentence, I'm able to do that, and you've got to understand, often that's what people are doing, and you can't fall for that kind of thing. Well, they did say that. Those are his words. But was that his intended use of those words? That's a very important thing to do. And so, and also tone matters. Okay, and often people, when quoting others, they'll emphasize a word that the other person didn't, which changes things. They accurately quote them, but they also use a tone that changes the message. And so, suppose you ask someone to ask me if I would visit someone in the hospital, and they ask me, and I say, so let's say, Brother Lonnie, had his mom was in the hospital the other day, and he told me about it, and but let's say he told Brother Austin, hey, could you talk to Brother Tommy and see if he could go visit my mom in the hospital? And then Brother Austin comes to me and says, hey, Brother Lonnie would like you to visit his mom in the hospital. And I said, that'd be fine. That's my statement. But then he goes back to Brother Lonnie, and he said it'd be fine. Now Brother Lonnie's going to be thinking, Pastor Tommy doesn't really want to go. Now, did he quote me accurately? You know, I mean, I quoted him verbatim. Yeah, but you change the tone. Your kids do that all the time to you too. You know, Mom, you know, Susie said this. You know, and they always do it with that just nasty tone. They make it sound the worst way possible. What are they doing? They're doting about words. They're literally, by using your own words, they're changing the meaning. That's just how wicked we are, and that's how big of liars we are. We are such liars just as people. We have such a dirty sin nature that we can verbatim quote somebody and yet misquote them at the same time. Isn't it amazing how that works? And